Yes, we have.
So tell us a little about yourself, Sue.
Thank you, Jack. I'm running for mayor, and I think you've probably seen some of my literature, and I've been saying it over and over and again, because I feel uniquely qualified. And, you know, people say to me, is that because you work in Braintree and you're actually doing the job? I want to tell you that it's much more than that. Working in Braintree for the last 2.5 years certainly has helped and well-rounded my career. But I believe this election is going to be based on trust. Everywhere I go, people are talking about being able to trust administration, bringing the form of government, the new form of government, kind of back to the people. They were a little bit more, they were closer with the town meeting form of government, and they feel like they've been kind of taken away. The reason I say that I'm the candidate of trust, I've worked at that for the past 20 years. Past 20 years in every area of municipal government, be it civic, administrative, legislative. I've touched on every age group and been very involved with every age group. I've worked with children, I've worked with seniors. I can tell you that I began on the Appropriation Committee, served 3 terms, 1 time as chairperson. And
In Weymouth?
Yes, I did. And that was, I will tell you, I was working at the Weymouth News at the time under the publisher Joe Downey. And I was a typesetter initially, and then kind of get into the news, became production manager.
Another career path.
Yes, exactly. No kidding.
A lot of typesetters.
I've always been drawn to newspapers. I actually worked on the South Boston Tribune, a weekly newspaper, and kind of worked on weeklies, did some designing, and then went from there, moved to Weymouth, and worked on the Weymouth News, again, as a typesetter. Then I started to get into sales, did some sales. Seems like everywhere I've gone in entry level, I've ended up doing some kind of supervision or managerial work. And that's where I met John Cunningham, actually one of my competition that ran for mayor. And John at the time was secretary of the Appropriation Committee. And John said to me, you know, you really like to get into politics. We want to get you into the Appropriation Committee. The Weymouth News at the time was publishing the warrant. And so they were actually doing the printing, and that's how I get into it. So I got on the committee. The very first year I was on the Appropriation Committee, I didn't know a whole lot about municipal finance, and I was told to sit there, be quiet, don't ask questions, and just listen. It's just not in what I usually do. So after about 6 months, I went to the chairperson, who was a kind of a feisty gentleman, became a very good friend of mine, Owen Joseph Cooney, who has since passed away. And I asked him to teach me municipal finance. I said, I'll come and mow your lawn. You teach me municipal finance? And he did such a thing, made me mow the lawn just one time. But that's where I learned it. I learned it from a pro, and he was a former partner of Grant Thornton. And I was very fortunate to be able to learn municipal finance from Joe. Beyond that, after the Appropriation Committee, I ran for selectman and was elected, served 2 terms, actually 3 terms, and came the last term going into the new form of government. I was one of the last selectmen. I was also chairperson during one of those terms, as I served as selectman. New form of government came in, and I ran for mayor. I was not successful in that venture, and so I had a couple of years off. Also during that time, I had experienced some health problems. I had leg ulcers, so it was a little time for me to rest, and I actually was very helpful in Mayor Madden's inauguration and planning a lot of those events, because after I didn't make it through the preliminary, I helped Mayor Madden to try and get him elected, and we were successful in that venture. After another year went by, I ran for council, was successful, and was elected as town council at large. Served 2 times would be into my 3rd term. So that brings me to where I am today. As far as professionally goes, after the Weymouth News, Weymouth News sold the papers, as you probably know, to the Mariner Group, and I was not interested in working with the Mariner Group at that time, so I worked at a printer where I had been setting some type graphic services out of Rockland. Started there again in the graphic arts department, became a floor manager, press manager, production manager, quality control manager, and then ended up as the actual production manager of the place. From there, I applied after seeing that there was a municipal opening in Braintree and was hired as the administrative coordinator to the executive secretary. I served there for 3 years, and my predecessor left, and I was put in the interim position. And there I stayed for 2.5 years. I just kept reappointing me and reappointing me. I was very fortunate in that position to see the other side of what I had known. I was always in an elected capacity or appointed, never really as a municipal employee. And that really got me well-rounded in what I feel was my career in a municipal setting. I learned a lot. I learned that anyone in that position needed to be so much more than just a financial person. You needed to be a mediator. You needed to be a psychologist. You needed to be able to take groups, bring them together. As you well know from publishing stories, there's an awful lot going on in Braintree, and it's very hard to try to keep people calm, keep them moving forward, and work through a balanced budget and everything that needed to be done. And I learned a lot. I learned patience. I learned how to do that and to do it, I think, successfully. So here I am, when it certainly was not my intention, as you know from the ads I ran in the paper, to run for mayor. When Mayor Madden announced that he was not going to be running, I waited to see who would be running, kind of decided would maybe have a new mayor. I was not pleased with the cast of characters who said they were going to be running, and knew, I felt that, and I still do, that I could do as good a job, if not better, and I will say better, than the people who were running. I thought that at this point in time, I really feel that we're going into our second chapter. The first chapter of our new form of government meant organization. We got a new form of government, very strong mayoral form of government, and that meant immediately organizing, reorganizing the form, getting into a budget that was program-based, very foreign to the town of Weymouth. That being said, that was accomplished and accomplished well. The reorganization was set in place. The budget is up and running. What hasn't been done now, and what I'm looking forward to in the second chapter of that new form of government, is a measurement. We need to do a measurement. Measurement is part of program-based budgeting. To throw money into programs without looking to see if those monies are expended in a way where services are rendered to the community efficiently and effectively, it is losing sight of what the whole program is supposed to be, in my opinion. And I would be looking forward and kind of excited about measurement, how that's going, and I believe we'd probably be making some other organizational changes, probably right away. So that's the gist of it. That's where I am now. It's been a short campaign. As you know, Mayor Madden only announced pretty much in the end. I hope we didn't cheat the people. We're trying to get the message out. All debates and certainly the articles that the Patriot Ledger has been writing has helped. And I believe I am the candidate that the people can trust and are looking for. I've heard it, and I know that I can portray that.
One of the things, Sue, that you talked about here, and you talked about consistently in Weymouth, is your experience in Braintree, that you're, in effect, CEO
Yes.
of another community. As you alluded to, Braintree's got some problems.
Certainly.
They've got financial problems, they have political problems, they have administrative problems.
Yeah.
How much the responsibility does a CEO of Braintree bear for that?
Probably a lot of responsibility. Keep in mind, and it's a very interesting and fair question. 2 years ago, when I assumed the position, I will tell you that my predecessor wasn't really into municipal finance, and was sort of into other areas. And I think I was on the job 2 weeks, and I look at revenues and expenditures reports and stuff, and realized that we were way down in where we should have been. Revenues with trash, in the trash area. We had just imposed trash billing and taken it out of the tax levy. We weren't receiving any receipts, and that was when I found out that I had just adopted year-old bills not going out for trash pickup, and had not. Immediately, we had to act on. I had I had a DPW director who really was not doing the job he should have done, and had since been asked to leave. So I had to go through all of that. Immediately, when a new director was put into place, we had to get into that, get those bills out, and that was the priority. We were losing out on $1.5 million revenue. So I kind of got adopted that. I said, I know I successfully got it through. It was rocky. Keep in mind the position of executive secretary is that of a recommending, certainly not a policy maker. It's a recommending. You recommend to the executive board, and you hope that they take your recommendations. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. When you get into let's talk about our water and sewer deficit. I'm sure that it weighs heavily on what you're discussing. The water and sewer deficit is such a shame. When you consider that when you set your water rate, and we had a water rate study done 2 years ago, what was not incorporated in that rate, unfortunately, and again, I hate to giving you excuses, but I sort of adopted it. When I went in, they had the rate set, We did not take into account the consumption figures. All across the South Shore, for some reason, consumption dropped immeasurably.